to mabisa mapusine mina tabakwa na mampakma atitinya wanga ale podijin wabe bakwa dire tanla. So my brothers and sisters, you're welcome to our weekly news review where we look at trending news in the past week so that we can prepare for the week coming. So first, the trending issue is Evon Nelson's book. I am not Evon Nelson. It's my talk about, we'll see why. And then the second issue has to do with the mass failures of prospective teachers in the teacher semester examination. So abysmal has been the performance that the National Tertiary Council described it as a threat to national security. Out of a total of 6,481 failed the exam, with only 1,277 passing, just 16% pass. So terrible. We'll talk about that. Of course, there's also the by-election at Asinov. All the parties have trooped there. Today, John Mahama had a rally. The MPP has been on the ground, and they're doing all they can to woo voters. And our last thing that we'll be discussing is the outbreak of anthrax in the Upper East region. There is still disturbing news coming in from Binduri about the mass deaths of animals. And there's also the potential that this could spread to other districts in the region, and it's affecting lives, particularly those dealing with cattle and all that. So these are the main issues that we'll talk about today. Now we can start. To mapole ninyinka atete bisa vadila ka sini gebro onyi to boy Evon Nelson. Wala maso bang at banka nyini. Banka wabute banka yinka wada Evon. I'm not Evon Nelson. To banka po bizika we wazima ama wonurba ywe kala ko yarin kasinye de tangarin chat wa mena da bizi banka big banyinga we burkama amarsi ngarampo tafo fakanda nyimpilama ba na bobne de angarka yambas ala jasi atomina ninyinga dile poten te bika parala ka woluma wi bikala yilanga to yo ne gwe de banwe sako diala wala ka rapa wa photo na wala oywe awene we bigala de nja yiri abo mojila wojan pota maranga bala yila to gaziwa ate bapa dija yoko to bawle dija la puli jan puga buli jan la wa chakpere biga mbaga nyawa opone zeso yila la to ga jitan la po to ga ye puka bi ne la de baranta bisi dilani bala bisi la pour sungla biga de to yo jan biga la noya opobon la noya kana pobe ne le altede no mata bisi dimle masala wode ukowa ato bolo wala nro de bon Nelson la ko ya nyama to mun da wo kwa banyi wo mo ja nyama se no ka nuru biyo poten kiso wala ka no ya le ja yu amadu kumula wa to la sa wonya woda wode biga to wa bunyila nga wa gisi wo kwa agisi abo mo atebo we wo yue apita la jeto o janga speaker of parliament to wachen aga tunu wazim al awopa majolo zimu nyase ko kola sumaya balaga pala machine wa kan tontuma so kulzana wode ze oko jiga to kula mela to kazin bisi to kala tunu bayaga agina toran A+ to A+ o Evon Nelson basanto omna so mo kai nuru wala ka aliki nurman ago jilama yi aya so sago de nyama sa wala ka wala siato o ye bugala na jila to ngada wala so buga o woni yo nyanya Colors will win and win your mouth. What win a way? What will it take a bull shot in the pop name? And your lala, Banyinga, Sark with the engine master, while Punya Pukala. Gandare, why the Punjanga and the Wallman so Puka, Boko would not bother to Seba, but I don't get you on the Sabika. To Obama Bikini Borenia Bislala, Abuno Wonkula. Tonala Nyala, Sark with the Holy Janya, Bulala. Tani poto wena wadi ni appealing wala wala zaza to nurubi kan ben kare da wa marse yan fukan sebu fula ku banla ya nya diro le zala sa ko de wala jinla ka dur. Okay, so our first trending issue has to do with Evon Nelson's I Am Not Evon Nelson book. The book was lying recently and it caused a great deal of attention because the lady made startling revelations about things she did in the dark with people, things that people would ordinarily not discuss. She was brave enough to mention them in the book. And the top 10 issue has to do with her and Sark they having met during a one-night stand, and she became pregnant and had to go through an experience of terminating the pregnancy because according to her at the time, Sarkodie was living with his mother and there was no hope that he will make it in the music. So she terminated the pregnancy. Dealing with Sangla Narati Kwambenia, Timajan Biztava, a sin of MP1 to Wajankin Canada, Denoa, a Jayen, watching what Danyira. At kunyina wo wakati Ghana kwa tukwenku ayemba yewo yoneta nyim parliament la to lawyer kaji kata labo gala kwezi labo jubala to kwezi ngulati wakatenta darla enge endisi de made serka wala le bade zaba bola nga to nyaso ba ezana sin of mana to kubuman parma ayemba mai kabdula a vote ye nur to ga zambanin parliament amara duin wada to kulan yamma NDC man tan wala da gaza ay sai wala wani man kyan ya kuma ayyeba nuri chaz gen fito mun boro chala galim har ga kwa bulin yidila ya ku ya ta no bo court ayen walin yidila wonye mas ga balwa banyinga wa villain ayi waka Ghana dana ga wada Ghana dana because Supreme Court wala bisedila kwa sasi wada ndi embassy Canada wa alijampa bansanga wa ma adana mula alige NDC de mamba we ngama no da ne an marse kama ben alige apagbansanga olijampa bansanga la nuruba jan tochen iso ji kama aganye anye big ayen wa masu wada namu atabawa to bansanga mena ken at electoral commission wade anya bansan bo ai wata shuguma wa ma zana namu so balanyala warka so baburka mana jigi chap wanda ma chiga bakwana danga yadai ba vote kama atatinya walo dala yako mbale de endiso mbale de trampala tele nya. So the next trending issue has to do with a sin of by-election that is coming up, and it's all centered around questions eligibility because he is still in court for a criminal trial brought against him by the AG to the effect that he lied, he committed perjury, and for as such he also deceived a public official. Now Kwesi and his lawyers have denied those charges and are also challenging because they make the case, the compelling argument that when he wrote in 1 year in advance and also had the EC validate his candidature after dismissing a petition brought against him. So to that effect, they wouldn't mind, they are behind him, he will go to parliament, even if it means he will be in prison as an MP. So, God willing, on Tuesday, there will be the voting. Now, all the parties are in the constituency and campaigning hard to make sure who will carry the day. So we are waiting. We'll bring you updates after that. Now, the other trending issue has to do with the mass outbreak of anthrax in the Binduri district. If you recall, I spoke about it just a few days ago. Now the animals are dying in droves. And here is a picture of, somebody sent this picture about the masses of sheep. Video na sini laba sana beduru wala ya pisang le puswala na kwa nuru na ndalo jokomala so da salam na ranyangan dumza tinna pana na yo krita girgida mawom na kan modum ngobka ta salam kuma bola na wamina chatu ko pa won nuruba ataba sabalum ya pisang le dola na ber landa boda landa. So it's not only cattle, sheep are also dying. And it is important for us to warn those of us who have a penchant for consuming dead meat to be very careful, because you might end up dead. And usually when anthrax attacks an animal and it dies, you don't see flies around the animal. It is also important, even if you see flies, to call the veterinary experts to check the animal to make sure the disease is not contagious. So we're using this medium to warn a lot of our people, especially those in the Upper East region, to be very careful of consuming dead carcass. Otherwise, you might end up dying because of that. Naratiri kunama akbalala naratiri natanamu mena ambisibo bikama abisi natana tuomuli jamo boko kabne jignala to kubude nyama tukoya nyine kama ama jampisa po kala de tate pamu bulukut apotem pare banyinga tame dunsinga tematu chakama boko yalma le tama bolagin yalma te nuruba kin da dunsa so bayane umba fa va kyo yere da atodo bolum fa ngarka nyama za banyinga fa ze bolmu bakandira lo fu wuzuk ko de tos ka nyoke adela fa kan nyama ci vie defu kare de tate pampar banyinga pisa yalma rakpi to ko ba jambo mama da ni ga nyini so ma van ngare salem buluku dungnan kpi ne ka dira yindi ne dingobe ne ganya girgi de mata ba janya dunka asika maksa ne dingobe ya bunne ne tasu ne ngop kandare te de nyelagama atinurba pakpi binduru nuru da kpi ma banyinga balo ko namula wodere wolo no ba tada no ngobe wa kpi malgen bala vukama kala te ta pampare dungnan kpi ne yangapo te fezija buninya dunga aya ne ka yindi pabdika ne ka nya girki te ba janya namu sai ba bura masu guga nugu at the danga pisi the kaya we gande. Okay, now let's talk about the Titan. Folks, this is a picture of the Titan. It took these 5 people down to see the bow of the Titan, and they all died when it imploded. So the Titanic was a very huge ship, cruise ship, that sank in 1912, and the ship had a 2,500 capacity, and when the ship sank, 700 of those people died. Now the ship is in deep waters. You can only see the bow. The bow is usually the top of the ship, the top of the ship. You can only see the bow deep down the ocean. Now, last Sunday, 5 adventurous people set out on a dangerous mission to see the bow of the Titanic over 300 meters below the sea. To nura nyakanumade alisani azana gala harness Harding, Sanzari Dawood, Solomon Dawood, Paul Henry Nogolet, Oga French, and Stockstone Rush, Balakal Disibo Polana, and they got into a submersible. A submersible is like a boat, but you can breathe inside, that can go deep down the ocean. So they got into this submersible, and they were going down, 5 of them each. So these are the 5 adventurous tourists who decided to embark on this mission. They all died, so including the Ocean Gate CEO. Each of them paid $250,000 to be in that mission to see the bow of the Titanic. Now the crew, in the craft, they had oxygen that could last them for 96 hours. That's like 3 days. But unfortunately, the lost signal of the submersible when it went down there, and eventually it was confirmed that it exploded and everybody died. Now the question is, this was not the first time that people have gone to see the Titanic. So why did this happen to this submersible?
As hopes fade for the 5 wealthy Titanic tourists who vanished while exploring the wreck aboard a mini submarine, one question keeps arising. What happened? It is possible that no one will ever know after the sub, called Titan, suddenly went silent hundreds of miles off the coast of Canada and around 13,000 feet underwater beside the Titanic. On board was a British billionaire, one of Pakistan's richest men and his son, a famed French explorer, and the CEO of the company running the dive. They began their voyage early Sunday with 96 hours of oxygen inside the sub and have not been heard from since. Submarine experts agree that 5 possible accidents are the most likely cause. Perhaps the most obvious explanation is that the submersible became tangled in the wreckage of the Titanic itself. The ship split into 2 pieces as it sank back in 1912, and those sections now lie amidst a huge debris field on the seabed. Navigating the wreck is extremely dangerous, according to those who have dived it. It is possible that the sub's pilot got disoriented, perhaps after communications were interrupted, causing the craft to get snagged. Another explorer has described how a sudden undersea current swept his submarine into the wreck, getting it temporarily stuck. Titan is equipped with drop weights, which can be thrown overboard to give it extra buoyancy, potentially freeing it and helping it float to the surface. But if it is stuck, for example, inside the Titanic, there could be little the crew would be able to do except wait for help. A banging noise picked up on sonar could be the trapped crew knocking on the hull of the sub to attract attention, but rescuers have still been unable to find the craft. Titan could also have suffered a power outage or equipment failure. The sub relies on batteries to power the communications, and a failure could explain why it lost contact with the surface. But they also power the engines, the lights, and the heating. A catastrophic failure would have left the sub dead in the water, in complete darkness, and in freezing temperatures. If that is the case, experts say the cold could kill quicker than the lack of oxygen. Questions have been raised over the quality of the sub after one passenger pulled out over fears the company building it were cutting corners. He discovered that scaffolding poles were being used as ballast, and a video game controller was being used for steering. After that, he demanded his money back. An OceanGate engineer also previously quit over safety concerns about the structural integrity of the sub, and an industry body wrote a letter in 2018 criticizing the company's experimental approach. Losing power would make the sub.
Now it is emerging from experts that they had warned that there were design defects in the making of the particular craft, because some of the materials were not suitable for the kind of mission they wanted to embark. And they added that just to make room for tourists to be part of the crew. And experts warned, one Michael Cohen actually warned them. There was also the case of Carl Stanley, who a year ago used the same craft to get added for a similar mission, and hear some awkward noises in there, and warned them to be careful, that the craft needed to be checked, but his warning was ignored. Others also warned that the nature of the design was dangerous and was potentially could lead to the deaths of people, but the company that was in charge of the mission dismissed it. Now we are also hearing that a company that licenses such submersibles declined a request to inspect and license the Titan for obvious reason, because they felt that it did not follow safety standards. And one of the experts actually said that the deaths of the people was 100% avoidable. So this is Michael Cohen. He said it was 100% preventable. They just didn't listen, and that's what happened to them. It's unfortunate. The Canadian Coast Police and then the U.S. Coast Guard actually confirmed the explosion, and they said that the bodies were lost in the process, and so we have lost those people forever. May their soul rest in perfect peace. But the question many keep asking is, why was there a need to go and see the bow of the Titanic, a ship that sank so many years? When you go and see, what will that happen to you? I leave that question to you to think about. Bye-bye. Oh, and in a womb, Nyambong Narang Painting, Dilapo 1912, at the ship Wallakuni, a warrior, Pemupo, sea wapo, Kubulu Warla, a ship Nurma Janka, to say a year, Ale Quapsi no. Dilapo Quapsi Pisu Pai, Ali Janki, a warrior Mopo. To kala to Nurba a felsinga, Balata Lingala, and ye are putting Chesaligra and ye jab, a putting singly in your jamu, a lippering.
As hopes fade for the 5 wealthy Titanic tourists who vanished while exploring the wreck aboard a mini submarine, one question keeps arising. What happened? It is possible that no one will ever know after the sub, called Titan, suddenly went silent hundreds of miles off the coast of Canada and around 13,000 feet underwater beside the Titanic. On board was a British billionaire, one of Pakistan's richest men and his son, a famed French explorer, and the CEO of the company running the dive. They began their voyage.
To wundo danitala nubala banu adane Chesaligra America lunubu wamina down to nika $250,000. I got Joe Narum Fikuni, Ankutaba Sintabanya, Babula Singla, Bampare Narunku, Jamudan Nama at Wamina Qui, Kalalat and Babis Felnilla, to Abuno one. Okay, so folks, this is all for this weekend. I want to thank all of you, and let's look to the new week. We shall come your way again on Sunday with another version of Bakwaipo WAPAALA. To manyini minajiam mapule nezane de age bakwalichila tamantucha amanya wangala mampisi to womla mama mara tamle bo wanju manyini minajiam abonyi ninye kokere ava mu adumping at commentary position Facebook and YouTube ma Evans at TV for bo Felton yo for Ghana yo for Africa for Coop faf nye cha yalka faf nye bu frantan ivanza TV fanya yila kama annar to wana nyina kwaret ne dem pa nganda gundu ati tama nyima bulku yiri ne da vamu ale bulku niya ba nyina mina jam bye bye.